help you figure out who the right person is for you. My name is Denais, and I am a therapist based in Dallas, Texas, and a mindset coach. I help other people find their own therapist when I'm not the right fit. Grab a notebook and a pen so you can follow along. The very first thing is to figure out your why. Why are you specifically wanting to go to therapy? What are the main areas of life that you are struggling with? Is it relationships? Is it sex? Is it career? Is it perfectionism? Are there specific traumatic experiences that you want to process? Think about the area that you said your why for, and think about situations and thoughts. This is going to help you throughout the process. The next step to finding the right therapist, I feel for most people, they consider it last. How are you going to pay for therapy? This is very important because this is actually going to narrow down some specific therapists that may be within your budget. What's a good amount for you that feels sustainable for you? Do you have a budget for mental health services? Most people coming into therapy don't, and so then they're surprised with the amount of how much it's going to cost them. So I would say budget beforehand, know how much you are willing to spend when it comes to seeing a therapist. This is so important. This is the thing that you should be doing for anything that you want to purchase or any type of service that you're pursuing. That way you are finding someone that is within your own personal budget that you feel comfortable, and now you don't feel stressed about how you're going to pay for it. I do see sometimes clients have come to therapy who have seen therapists who are not within their budget, and then they stop, and then that hurts their journey. You know, and the therapist can only do so much in terms of being able to work around that. So here are some specific routes that clients use to pay for therapy, whether that be using their insurance. If you are using your insurance, then you're gonna specifically wanna look for someone that's under your insurance. So that is a very specific therapist who is in network with your insurance benefits. That way you're able to access those, you're able to use those benefits, and it'll cost you way less with out-of-pocket cost. Now with this, what I love about using an insurance is that your insurance has its own website, so you can always also call your insurance to send you a couple of providers in your area. They have a specific provider directory where you can look up therapists in your area that are specifically in network. Downfalls with that, sometimes they might not be up to date. So for me, I recommend to just call. Typically in the back of your insurance card, there will be a number, a customer service number that you can contact a person there. And I've done this where I've called and I've asked them to just email me a couple of providers that I could vet out. So that is a route that you could choose to use to pay for therapy. And again, that's going to narrow down some of your choices. Now, the second route that I often see clients use when it comes to paying for therapy is private pay or self-pay, meaning you don't have to rely on insurance, you don't have to rely on anyone but yourself to pay for therapy. What I love about this is that you are not limited in the type of therapist that you can choose. Your insurance also doesn't have to dictate how many sessions are available to you. You have a lot of autonomy when it comes to self-pay and private pay. Now, I know that that isn't always an accessible option, but it's important to note if you are willing to pay out of pocket, then giving yourself a range of how much you're willing to pay. Is it between 60 to 150 an hour, which is usually kind of a range for some affordable therapists. Now, again, that is very subjective, right? Like what I find affordable might not be what you find affordable. When you're choosing a therapist, it's very important that you have a number in mind, but be open-minded that maybe the right therapist will cost a little bit more. I do have a podcast episode on my podcast, Cafe with Monica, where I chat a little bit more about what other options there are for paying for therapy. So if you want to listen to that episode, that's where I dive specifically on how to afford therapy, but this is not that video. This video is really just trying to find the right therapist. So if you want to look at that episode, then I highly encourage you to do that. Also, one of the things that a lot of people don't know that I do want to mention here so that you don't have to listen to that episode is that you can use your health savings account, your HSA account, for paying for therapy. So keep that in mind, hack. Now, the next thing is to think about location, location, location. This is so important. With the pandemic, we saw a high rise of online therapy being utilized more. So you got to tell yourself, like, are you someone who prefers online, or are you someone who prefers in person, or maybe a hybrid of both? So keeping that in mind when it comes to location, because that's going to give you an idea. Like if your therapist is fully remote, then you're not going to be able to have the ability to see them in person. Now, something else to keep in mind, how long do you want to drive? If you want to do in person, how long are you willing to drive, or what is important when it comes to, do they have to be accessible through public transportation? Do you only want it to be a 15-minute drive, or more? You're okay with driving more than 15 minutes out of your area to go see your therapist. So keep that in mind, because sometimes I've had clients personally who've had the conversation very upfront that I was pretty far from where they live and they didn't want to do online therapy. And I told them, you know, I still expect you to be here on time. You know, that those are all things that are important for you to take the most out of your therapy session. And so when I started seeing them get, you know, constantly being late, I did have to have that conversation, you know, like, can we do remote, right? Because for me, it's like, it's also like thinking about your city's traffic. All of those things are important, because if you're not able to go get therapy on time, or feel like you have to be rushed, then you're not going to be in the right headspace when you get there. I've also seen that too, where clients have been stuck in traffic for hours, and some of those things sometimes are unavoidable. Next thing that you should think about when it comes to finding the right therapist is if you would like to have a shared identity with them. There is nothing wrong with wanting to have a shared identity with your therapist. This can mean a lot of things. This could mean gender, this could mean ethnicity, race, this could mean religion or spiritual beliefs. You can pick the therapist that you are going to feel the most comfortable with, and sometimes that is having a shared identity. So for me, while I do focus on ambitious women and women entrepreneurs, I do also have a focus on minority women. As a minority woman myself, that is very important to me. I love to have shared identities with my clients, because I feel like I'm able to relate to some of the things that they say and be able to process it with them so much better than if I wasn't in their culture. Now, that doesn't mean that it's necessary. As a therapist, we have learned to be culturally competent and be able to explore that, to not just make assumptions out of your culture, your race. And so it's very important that you know that as well. But like I said, there is nothing wrong with wanting to have a shared identity with your therapist. So think about that. Do you want a shared identity? Do you need them to be part of the LGBTQIA+ community? What is important to you when it comes to finding the right therapist? The next thing that I highly recommend when it comes to finding the right therapist is thinking about the expertise and the therapeutic approach. Based on the areas that you feel like you want to chat about in therapy, or you want to process in therapy, use that as your anchor for finding one that has an expertise in that. For instance, if you're struggling with anxiety and maybe relationships, then you may find someone who is an expert in that, who has expertise in these particular issues, or who uses a therapeutic approach that addresses these specific issues. Now, we're not going to talk about all the therapeutic approaches, because there are so many. There's CBT, DBT, ACT, like there are so many different types of therapeutic approaches, and we will be here all day. But I recommend for you to take a quick Google search and go therapeutic approaches for anxiety. Usually the go-to therapeutic approach for anxiety-related issues is cognitive behavioral therapy. There are other approaches of therapy that are better suited for other types of issues. If you're someone who is struggling with substance misuse, then you're gonna want to find a therapist who is an expert in addictions. If you're looking for approaches that are a little bit less psychotherapeutic, you can find someone who is an EMDR therapist. Now, there are just so many types of therapies. Don't feel like it has to be just one size fits all. Sometimes talk therapy is not the right fit for people. There are so many, there's walk therapy now. Like there are so many types of therapists out there that you can find the right fit. Don't feel like it is just what the media has shown you. There are so many different types of approaches. Keep in mind, different therapists approach things a different way. So just because we have two CBT therapists, two therapists who have a cognitive behavioral therapy approach, they may act very differently. While some people can be very direct, some people may be more passive. So think about those things too, because that's also something that I've had clients share. Like, my therapist was super passive. Like, I felt like I was not getting anything out of it. There was no input. And so that's important. You have to maybe ask your therapist, are you someone who is very direct? Are you someone who provides structure in the session? Some therapists take a very active role in the session, and some are very passive and non-direct. So it's up to you to decide what feels right for you. If you've gone to therapy before, what did you like and what didn't you like about your past therapist? Because that's going to give you some clues about what you need. Those are things to think about when it comes to finding the right therapist with the right expertise and therapeutic approach. The next thing is searching. So where do I search for the right therapist? There are so many therapeutic directories, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is not BetterHelp. I kind of cringe whenever I do see some of my favorite YouTubers promote BetterHelp and kind of knowing that they're not using BetterHelp. I just do not promote BetterHelp here. If you had a good experience with BetterHelp, please share in the comments, because maybe I just have a bias with it. I've had clients tell me they've had a terrible experience, and also that's just my personal opinion. Like I said, if you've had a great experience, don't let my opinion devalidate your experience, because that is important. If you had a good experience, great, I would love to hear about it. These are the places where I feel like you should look for a therapist. The very first one, and the very popular one, is Psychology Today. I love Psychology Today because you can search for a therapist by the specific location, even your zip code. You can look for a zip code, and you can even use the filter to filter it to some of the specific things that we've already talked about: location, specific issue, therapeutic approach, shared identity, gender. Like, all those things are things that you can filter out to find the right therapist. And then you can look at their profile. Here's my profile for you guys to see. You can look at their profile and just kind of get a glimpse of their personality. For me, I like to show pictures of my office. Like, I don't know about you, but like, when I go to a place, like go to a restaurant, like, I need to know how it looks like. I need to know how they talk. I need to know a little bit of it. And that's what's helped my anxiety. So for me, that's how I take an approach when I'm marketing myself. I really want people to have as many questions answered before they hop on a call with me, a free consultation. So look at their profile, look at their website. Now, the next couple of places that I recommend are Therapy for Black Girls. Now, if you're someone who's specifically looking for a Black therapist, then this is a perfect directory for you, because they specifically focus on some of these most amazing and incredible Black therapists that you can find. Now, if you're someone who is in the Latinx community, then you can look at Therapy for Latinx Therapy. Those are two different ones, but I'm going to show you one here. And similar to Psychology Today, you can filter through therapists with all of these, but now you know that there's a shared identity there. The non-conventional way of finding a therapist that I think Gen Z is going to start using a lot is looking up a therapist on Instagram and on TikTok or YouTube. I think that these are great searchable places that you can look for a therapist. Let's just say you're looking for a therapist on Instagram. You can look at the hashtag. So you can put hashtag Dallas therapist, you can put your city and then therapist. Some of the therapists who target these hashtags, you'll be able to see some of their posts, get a feel for how they are on social media. And I think that really does help. So if you look at hashtag Dallas therapist or hashtag DFW therapist, you can look at all the different types of therapists who are already posting things on social media. And so I think that's a really cool way to find a therapist in an unconventional way. Now, you're gonna have to do a little bit more digging, like you're gonna have to find their link to look at their website and stuff, but I think this is a really cool way. If you're already using social media, use it in a way that's gonna support you and your healing journey. And so even just following some therapists in your area and looking up what they're doing and kind of get a feel for them can also allow you to figure out, maybe I want to work for this person. You can do the same thing on TikTok. You can find hashtags like hashtag Dallas therapist, hashtag Texas counselor, whatever it is. Like, you can look at the hashtags and look at the therapist and look at videos from them and see if you vibe with them, like see if you like their vibe. So I think that that's a really cool way that people haven't really tapped into. I actually did this when I was trying to find a therapist. and I found a couple of options. Even my past therapist, who I just love so much, is on TikTok, and she grew her TikTok account. It was really great. And so you can find some really great therapists by looking on social media or even just doing YouTube. There's so many therapists now who have YouTube channels like myself, and just to get a feel about their attitude and their vibes. Another thing that you could do is a simple Google search based on the information that we just kind of accumulated. If you're looking for a therapist who focuses on anxiety, who is Latinx, maybe you're also looking for a therapist who is focused on women entrepreneurs. So you can Google Dallas therapist for women entrepreneurs and see what the searches come up. And then you can look at the search, and as you can see, there I am, and this is my website. Then you can just explore the website, book a free consult, and do all that stuff. So now there are also other websites that you can use, and I'm going to put them here, like openpathcollective.org. That is specifically for people who are looking for sliding scale. Sliding scale is typically between $30 to $70, just depending on your area, for per session. I hope most therapists do this. I do. We have specific spots to be able to have clients who may not afford our full fee or are currently going through financial concerns or hardships. A percentage of our clients are sliding scale clients, and this is how we help to be able to make therapy affordable. What I recommend is that you choose 3 out of all of the ones that you search for and get on a free consultation call. A free consultation call most therapists provide. One, because we want to make sure that we're the right fit, that we have the right tools for your specific issue. Also, nothing personal when a therapist says, like, I just don't feel I'm the right fit. This doesn't mean that your problems are too big. This doesn't mean that you can't be helped. None of those things. I don't want you to internalize those things. That is specifically the therapist doesn't feel equipped for those specific issues. Our mission is to do no harm. So we never want to get in a relationship with you, a therapeutic relationship with you, when we know we're going to be doing more harm than good. So just keep that in mind. So pick 3 people that you're most excited to have a conversation with or email with, and you can ask them questions about their availability, things like that. You can filter in more ways of how to find the right fit. That could look like availability. Maybe you're only available on Fridays, so you need a therapist who's available on Fridays. So I love that the consult, you can write down your top 3 choices and then rank them from 1 to 3 and just have a short conversation with them. You can use this particular script. I love giving people this script because it's just an easy way. If you find yourself like tongue-tied, don't know what to say, it's quick to just print this out or take a screenshot right now of this. After the 3, you find out which one you're most comfortable with, book a session. And I will say that I recommend that you try at least 3 sessions with that one therapist. Now, if at that first session you just do not feel it, you're like, this is just not good, I just don't like their vibe, I'm just not, then follow your gut. But I do think that one session isn't enough to really get into everything. So I recommend to do at least 3 sessions with this therapist. Sometimes your instinct isn't always correct. I would definitely have you explore why you don't feel it's the right fit. Like, what is it about this person that doesn't feel the right fit? Or are you resisting, you know, maybe it's a new style of therapy that you are not used to, and maybe you do need to, you know, push through and continue having sessions with them. Remember, the therapeutic session is only a part of healing. You do have to apply some of these things outside of therapy. And so just keep that in mind. It's not the therapist, it's you. And that's okay. It's been me. It's been me. Someone who has had that struggle where I have my own resistance to, you know, building that relationship. Just keep it in mind. It could be you. You could be the problem. It's okay. We can work through that. I hope that you found all of these things helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you love videos like this, you want to make mental health a priority, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I hope to see you in my next video.